Then of course you have the next thing in our cycle, which is of course build up, inducement, mitigation. So let's take a deeper look in the mitigation. So retailers at this stage are like, what should happen here? And we are literally like that. Because the mitigation obviously is before after the inducement, and that's literally our cheers to the market, because that gives us our limit order entry in the best case scenario. Okay, the mitigation for us will be a significant role because we literally will enter on these mitigation zones in order to know exactly where we should enter by the timing, by the structure, by the confluences, and also by the imbalance fills. Okay, so the mitigation, again, mitigations happen a lot. We just need to identify where we look for them and where we not look for them. Because as we showed you at the day one, if you just look for random mitigations all the time, you get completely destroyed. That's why we just need to know which ones we need to look at and which ones completely ignore and which ones will become smart money traps. But no worries, we guide you. Okay, so what the mitigation really is, of course, mitigation areas are where price was not fairly, in their quote unquote, like fairly delivered and left like this inefficiency in the market. Again, if price was not properly delivered because for speed or whatever reasons, then Enigma had not the chance to deliver it fairly and creates these inefficiencies when the wicks are not connected properly, and that creates these imbalances. So the Enigma then needs to return to the price or these inefficiencies and then mitigate their positions and then reverses price. So the price is then fairly delivered and everything is in balance, and then of course the Enigma can go on after that. So if the market moves in a hurry, again, if a lot of liquidity enters immediately, the Enigma cannot book a profit in the process and will then or need to come back to these mitigation areas and of course to reduce losses and stuff like that and continue in the true direction after. Okay, but just know that mitigations or imbalances are created by speed and liquidity. Okay, that's why they happen, and then they need to come back to these areas all the time to fairly deliver price. And also, if market moves in a hurry, not all orders are filled fully, and thereby missing fulfillment and again these inefficiencies, and created pretty much these imbalances. And to balance orders like that and fill each participant in these areas, again, they need to come back and fill these orders. So mitigation alone will not work. Pretty important. Again, if you just look at mitigation areas, you're doing the same shit than like all these smart money traders out there. It's crazy. You need so much more stuff in combination in order to make it really good. Again, if you trade like 10 mitigation zones, of course, like 2 will work, but what's the point? Right? That's not the point. The point is knowing what is going on. That's why we use it as a last stage, just for confirmations once more. And you will see how much stuff we will include into the whole scenario. And again, this is why also smart money areas and these imbalance areas become traps to build even more liquidity. Because again, guess what? The Enigma knows that people understand that this area needs to get filled. Of course, they know it. So that's why they target and fake these zones on purpose to, of course, create liquidity even more. So they know, of course, that people know about that these imbalances need to get filled. That's why they attack them. That's why they show so false ones as well and show the smart money trap. Okay? And again, the best mitigations come from a break of structure area after an inducement. So if you have an inducement, internal break of structure, that creates an imbalance, then price comes back, mitigates that inducement area, perfect. That's the stuff you're looking for. But in overall, again, just look for these imbalances, areas in here, inducement of a structure, maybe smart money trap in here, and then of course, mitigation, and price can go lower and get to these mitigation zones, liquidity zones below in here. But first, again, you have a build-up, minor one, whatever, then an inducement area, mitigation. Okay? And of course, there's a false one, sorry for that one. There we go. So again, if you have something like this, we have a build-up, see the imbalances in here, inducement after the build-up mitigates the positions to go lower, or this one is a better one. For example, again, you have this break of structure, right? If it was something like this break of structure in here creates the imbalances. That's your building up in here. Also minor buildup in here. Inducement of that areas mitigates that imbalances. Guess what? Now you're having your valid, whatever, break of structures in here, depending on what's going on to the left. And of course, same thing all over again. Building up the false channel. Inducement with the vector candles into the proper mitigation area with the imbalance, and then continuous price action. So, question for you guys. Where are our mitigation areas? This one, yeah, that's a good question. Again, if it would be visible on the 5 minute, 100%. If you break that down on the 1 minute, there is probably an imbalance here, yeah, and that got mitigated. So very good eyes already. Okay, that's exactly the same. Same thing here, as you can see. Whatever on the 1 minute, that obviously, that's actually a very funny one, because as you can see, just take a deep look in here, so sharpen your eyes. Starting from this point in here, look at the wicks, how they're always connecting each other. You see, there's never an imbalance anywhere until when? Here, guess what? Build up. Where does market go to? Fill this imbalance. Insane, isn't it? It's always the same thing. And if you do the same thing on the 1 minute in here, it's probably the same. So there's obviously some sort of an imbalance in here. Whatever. This is like this. On the 1 minute, you should have an imbalance in here. And the market comes back after build up inducement. Right? Same thing here, as you can see. But anyways, let's bring some light into the tunnel. Answer is B. I saw some confusion about this one. Again, yeah, technically, if you take this zone, yeah, but as the A is more like on this side, we meant this zone in here. So of course, that's not a mitigation zone. You should take a look at, right? But if you meant this zone in here, yeah, then yeah, of course. Same thing as you see, build up, inducement into the mitigation area to push price higher. And of course, after the main inducement of London, of course, you expect this zone to get completely smoked. Okay? So, most people got it right. Love it. And there's only 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 questions you might ask. And like, so if that's all the mitigation, of course, like that's a very good one. Like again, we talked about this earlier. Again, same thing for this one. We have your break of structures, get into the mitigation area. Kind of missed it up by a little bit, okay. But then of course, E, same exact thing, making low in here, comes back mitigated, right? And notice, again, it's the same thing all over again. But anyways, what about C, pretty much A and F? Okay, so why not A and C? Why not A and C? Remember, we have something called the smart money trap. As we go on, you will learn how to identify these traps. Just focus on the lit cycle and all the concepts we talk about later on, and that will become very, very clean for you. So if you think about, for example, what about this one? Did that not technically mitigate in here and give like a reaction? It did, and that's literally the definition of a smart money trap. And that leads us to bring into, of course, smart money traps.